Hello and welcome to Yoga Story. My name is Jeff Martens, and today's yoga story is about enlightenment. Now there's going to be a yoga pose which will have a separate little video to show you how to do that's related to today's story. Long ago, King Janaka was coming to the end of his reign, and he wanted to find enlightenment. He had finished his worldly responsibilities and he had done all of his duties and his dharma, and he was interested in the higher dharma, the sat dharma. The purpose of being in existence is to know thyself and to become enlightened with that knowledge of who you really are. And so he decided to have a competition. He decided to offer a king's ransom, quite literally, to any sadhu, master, teacher, or guru who could come to the castle on a certain day and help him to be enlightened. Well, the date was announced, and word spread through the countryside like wildfire. On the appointed day, a great crowd had gathered outside the king's castle. Sadhus and saints and renunciates and masters and gurus filed into the big ball assembly hall. And there they stood in a big circle around Janaka. And each one of them began to offer Janaka different techniques, different breathing techniques, different yoga poses, different ways to hold one's head, different mudras, different chanting mantras, different ways to hold the eyes, different ways to breathe with the tongue or the lips placed in a certain way. And this procession went on and on from the early morning to the mid-morning to the afternoon to the late afternoon. And King Janaka did all of these things. And he felt a calmness in his body and he felt better. But he certainly did not feel like he was enlightened. He certainly did not feel like he had reached the end of his purpose of truly knowing who he was. Towards the end of the later afternoon, into the assembly walked a crippled old sadhu from the forest. His name was Ashtavakra, which means crooked in 8 places. And as he walked in, some of the other gurus and masters and sadhus and renunciates laughed a little bit. "What are you doing here?" one of them called out. "I heard the king's offer," Ashtavakra said, "and I thought that he might want a real teacher." Everybody else laughed. "You, a real teacher? Look at you." Ashtavakra laughed right along with them. And then he spoke, "Are you a bunch of meat merchants and butchers that you only see meat and bones? Has your practice not taught you that this is just the surface?" Well, this quieted them down a little bit, and Ashtavakra went to the center of the circle. The king stood up. "So you can give me what I'm seeking?" "That will be up to you," Ashtavakra said. "What do I do first?" Janaka said. "Get your horse in here." "My horse?" "Yes, get your horse in here." So the king clapped and had his advisors bring in his horse, his stallion. Then Ashtavakra walked up to Janaka and looked him into the eyes. King Janaka had never seen anyone with eyes so piercing. King Janaka felt a little bit uncomfortable. "How long will this take?" he asked Ashtavakra. "Oh, not long," Ashtavakra said. "You can become enlightened before you fully are able to mount this horse if you'd like." The sadhus and masters giggled. What do I do? Janaka said. Put one foot in the stirrup, but do not mount the horse. Janaka did as he was told. Now before you get onto that horse, you must do 3 things. You must promise me that you will do these 3 things before you do them, for I require your complete faith. The king hesitated. What would he ask? What would he have to do? But he also yearned for this enlightenment, and something in him told him to trust this crooked old guru. I give you my word, Janaka said. I will follow your instruction. Good, Ashtavakra said. The first thing I want you to do is to give me this body that you have. Let it be mine. Let me have control over it. Let it only do what I ask it to do. Done, Janaka said. Next, Janaka said, I want you to give me your mind. Give me your mind so that it only does what I ask it to do. It is not yours anymore. Once you have given it to me, you must remember this. Done, Janaka said. Lastly, I'd like you to give me your attention so that your attention can only be on what I designate. Do you agree to this? Ashtavakra said. It is done, Janaka said. Ashtavakra walked closer to King Janaka, 1 foot on the stirrup. Close your eyes, Ashtavakra said. King Janaka closed his eyes. He felt the presence of Ashtavakra. He felt the spaciousness of the huge ballroom all around him. He could feel the life and the pulse and the breath of all the gurus and sadhus watching, quiet now, wondering what was going to happen. Your mind, it is wandering. Give it to me, it is not yours to think. What were you thinking about? I was thinking about this ballroom, about how big it is, about how many people are in it. Stop such nonsense, Ashtavakra said. Give me your mind. It is mine now. You must think what I ask you to think. Janaka did not know how to give his mind, so he just visualized himself without a mind, offering what he thought was his mind out to Ashtavakra and the universe. And instantly his mind became calmer. And now he heard Ashtavakra's voice as if it was 1,000,000 miles away and closer than his own ear. Now Ashtavakra said, focus on this. There was no further instruction. But Janaka knew to focus on this. From somewhere far away, he heard Ashtavakra telling him, you may mount the horse now. But he was in such bliss and such peace. There was only this. There was only this. There was only this. A hand clap like thunder brought him back into the room. The room was the same yet different, infinitely spacious yet filled with glowing, beautiful waves of love. Looking around him, he could see the bright light in everyone that was there, the same bright light that was in him. Soon, these perceptions faded, but his awareness of their presence did not. Something stayed with him. Do you have what you asked for? Ashtavakra asked. At this point, Janaka realized that he was sitting on top of his horse. He smiled and then laughed. Oh, yes, I do. Then Ashtavakra said, you may have your body back, you may have your mind back, and you may direct your attention as you wish, for you have earned the right to use these gifts to help others to find what you have found. And with that, Ashtavakra limped out of the ballroom and walked off into the forest, leaving all the other masters and sadhus and renunciates and gurus scratching their heads and recommitting themselves to their own inner practices. Many years later, Janaka was approached by a young boy looking for the same thing he had been looking for. Where is enlightenment? The boy asked. How do I get to it? Where do I go to it? And Janaka laughed. That is the biggest obstacle, Janaka said. It is not anywhere else. If you look somewhere else, you will miss it. If you look any other time, you will miss it. It is this. Focus on this. It is already here. It is already you. The this in me salutes the this in you. Namaste.